Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to live along the Great Lakes. And so this job was in the Detroit Free Press as like, you can live along the beautiful blue waters of Lake Huron. So I kind of went for the location versus the job. When I was getting my bachelor's degree, I worked as a kind of a caregiver for a gentleman with Alzheimer's. And so that, I think, probably looking back on it, became a little pivotal because it was a very wealthy family, and so she had like a cook and a gardener and then 24-hour care to help take care of her husband. And I started out just going to help the nurse walk him. And then we became friends, and then we were at his bedside when he died. So it was kind of, looking back on it, kind of a unique experience. It was my first experience with somebody dying in front of you, and it was kind of peaceful, and it wasn't quite as, I guess, scary as one thought. I met Steve, I was actually here in Saugatuck. I was coming to Grand Rapids for a conference on Alzheimer's, and he was visiting from Chicago. How we met was at the bar in Douglas Dunes. It was in Thanksgiving, and there's about 7 people in the bar at that time, so it was pretty easy to meet him. So he's how I got to Chicago. So we met, hit it off a lot, and that was like the weekend before Thanksgiving, and by March I had moved to Chicago. He was very business oriented. He had started out, when I met him, he was in the mailroom and working literally in the mailroom, and by the time he retired, he was president of the company. And so I think it was helpful for me and for him, is that our work lives were like totally different. Like what he did was so foreign from what I did and vice versa. And so I think that was a plus, and we were both very, very into our work. Again, very, very different work, and I think we each had a respect for that. So we moved to Evanston, and a little view of the lake, like life is good. I'm got my resume back together. I'm starting to look for jobs back in social work. And Steve gets diagnosed with a cancer. There was a cancer of the tonsil, a squamous cell, and probably, I think it was like stage 3. And so, horrific treatment, horrific. I mean, like chemo, radiation, couldn't talk, couldn't swallow because his just throat was raw. And he took it like a trooper. I mean, like he was never sick a day in his life. So he survives that treatment. And that's when we decided that we're going to do something different. So we're selling Evanston, bought a house in Fenville, Michigan, and we're going to split our time between there and Fort Lauderdale. And so he'd been probably through treatment for about 2 years. And so we had spent our first 6 months down there, and we'd just gotten back from Fort Lauderdale and went into Chicago for a scan, and we get back home, and there's a message from the doctor saying, call. So that's when it turned out that he had a brain tumor. And so the brain tumor was totally unrelated to his first cancer, so he just had really, really bad luck. The type of cancer is one that's not curable. So life expectancy, 18 months to 24 months. And that's with treatment. He would do a lot of research about his type of cancer. I mean, probably more than if it was me. I don't know if I would have the discipline. So he just was very active and pro. And in the meantime, he also started a non-for-profit because he needed something to busy his time. And so he started Unlocking Brain Tumors, which was, so he got a 501c3, and the idea was that it would fund brain tumor research. So he was somebody that just, he could not focus on his diagnosis. It was like we just had to live life. Went into hospice on Labor Day and died 4 weeks later. And he was on his way. He was planning to go back to Chicago because he was going to get in a trial for scorpion venom. So he's just he was just an amazing person that way. So Steve and I were together 25 years. I think when he got the brain tumor, it was kind of like we on some level decided not to go back to Chicago because it was just going to be too intense. And so we just kind of like circled the wagons here. And I think that, and after he died, it just didn't, I don't know, like going back to Chicago, it felt like it was going back. So I do feel like having the house here in Grand Rapids is a good thing. How I tried to figure out a way to get acquainted was I looked up ways to volunteer. So I volunteered at 3 places. I volunteered with Spectrum, visiting nurse, visiting shut-ins, and then this was all at the same time. And then I volunteered with Lutheran Social Services, and it was with a refugee program, so you got to kind of mentor. And this was a family that was from the Congo. And then I was volunteering at Hope Lodge. So Hope Lodge is like a Ronald McDonald's House for Adults. So here in Grand Rapids, it's been open 6 years, and there's 20 guest rooms, and so it's set up for people coming in for treatment from outside the area. So you have people that would maybe live in Ludington. They're here for 6 weeks where they get treatment and then go back home. I think that I saw like just such a value of being able to like kind of match people's time, wanting to give back, to making a difference. I think volunteering is it's just really kind of vital. I think it's very, very helpful for the people you're helping as much as it is for yourself.